Eyes up. Corner three for Hall. Hits it.
As a basketball fan, you've probably felt the excitement building around the WNBA lately. The phenom Caitlyn Clark has taken the world by storm, and the rookie superstar is nowhere close to stopping.
I'm very annoyed with men. They don't watch our games. They don't know us. They don't ask us. And like, if you don't have to watch us play, that's fine. But like, for you to just sit there and just constantly shit on our craft, our product, and everything without really being tuned in, like, it's just not right.
But amongst all that buzz, a new sensation has risen. Caitlyn Clark's been at the heart of that buzz, and now she's made an announcement that's taking things to a whole new level. Clark has been a star since her college days. In her first WNBA season, Clark's already broken records. She scored 24 points and made 19 assists in one game. That's the most assists ever in a single WNBA game.
To shoot for Clark. She'll need the heroics here. And does it.
People have been guessing what Clark might do next. Would she make the Olympic team? How would she change the WNBA? Now we have some answers. Clark's big news is shaking up the basketball world. What exactly did she decide, and how does it affect the future of women basketball?
I think you're a great basketball player. I mean, I can't play like you do.
Yeah, we know. And obviously, I can't tell jokes like you do.
Clark made waves with her recent game. She scored 24 points and set a new WNBA record with 19 assists in one game. This amazing performance showed why many think she should be on Team USA. Fans and experts were shocked when Clark wasn't picked for the Olympic team. Many felt her stats proved she deserved a spot. As a rookie, she's averaging 17 points, 8 assists, and 1.5 steals per game. These numbers are very impressive for a new player.
I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. And Caitlyn Clark is bringing this money into the league, and other players will benefit from it. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white.
Clark's decision to keep pushing despite this setback fits with her drive to succeed. She's helping her team, the Indiana Fever, get back into the playoff race. At first, the Fever had a slow start, but Clark's strong play over the past month has turned things around. Her impact goes beyond just her team. Clark is part of a new wave of young stars making the WNBA more popular. The recent All-Star game had 3.44 million viewers. That's 146% more than the old record. Players like Clark are a big reason for this growth.
You spend all this time trying to get respect for your league, and then you do bitch stuff. The only Bs out there I see are the Bs that are being dramatic about Caitlyn Clark. That's all I see. They try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court. Instead of playing the game, they got to be drama because they're jealous. Instead of letting their skills speak for themselves, they got to be drama because they're jealous. Now, what little girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. That's so dumb. It looks like a soap opera.
But has it been smooth sailing for this rising star?
You asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year.
What?
Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlyn Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is. Dang, like he or she's killing them. But you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. You should be killing them. Yeah. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
Will Caitlyn Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Absolutely not.
Clark's rivalry with Angel Reese has kept fans on the edge of their seats. It's made more fans interested in women's basketball. Her record-setting assist game shows she could become one of the league's best players. This has been met with jealousy and criticism.
And Angel Reese knows a ring is coming.
The rematch between Angel Reese and Caitlyn Clark in the NCAA tournament drew over 12 million viewers. With this growing success of women's college basketball, WNBA players and media have started to hate on college players, in particular Iowa's Caitlyn Clark, with articles being written such as "Make basketball black again" in response to her large fan base. In this video, we are going to look at WNBA players and the media hating on Caitlyn Clark. Let's get started.
What do you think about Ice Cube and the Big Three offering Caitlyn Clark $5 million to play in their league?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. But the first one is, so you offered the contract to a player who's not yet even in the WNBA. Big Three does not happen during overseas season, so that doesn't make sense.
That's true.
And then for us to get, like, just constantly shit on, like, you can't even acknowledge the growth and how amazing the WNBA is doing because shit like this happens.
When
you didn't even have to bring up the W. If you're gonna say that it's for that, then stand on that. But I don't think it's, I think he's trying to make a business decision, which he's a businessman, that makes sense. But to mask it in this, I want to uplift and support WNBA players and women athletes is kind of a cop-out, I think, and I don't think it really makes any sense.
Right away, we have Lexi Brown hating on Caitlyn Clark's $5 million offer from Ice Cube to join the Big Three. Just like we have talked about in previous videos, the best doesn't always get paid the most. Caitlyn Clark got that huge offer because she brings in a massive audience that no one in the WNBA could bring in. Not only is Clark a very skilled basketball player, but she's also very entertaining to watch. And that's why Ice Cube would make such a large offer.
You asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlyn Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be. Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
Cheryl Swoops told 3 big lies in her statements about Caitlyn Clark. The first is how many years she played college basketball, implying that she played 5 years because of COVID. In reality, she's played 4, just like Kelsey Plum, and she even broke the record in less games. The second lie is how many shots a game Caitlyn Clark takes, saying she takes 40 shots a game. Over the course of her career, Clark has only shot 19 shots a game, which is less than half of what Swoops said. And finally, Swoops said that Caitlyn Clark is 25 years old, when in reality, she's only 22. Cheryl would then make a response after being called out for lying.
I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna be done with this whole conversation. So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, black people can't be racist, but that's the farthest thing from my mind. I grew up in a very small West Texas town, predominantly white. My best childhood friend is white. So it's important for me that I speak up for people that look like me. It's Black History Month. So, our ancestors fought and died for us to have opportunities that we have today. I have, no issues with Caitlyn. Her breaking the record, I think, obviously is a tremendous accomplishment, although, we could get into that discussion also, because there's a big debate on Lynette Woodard having the actual record.
I'm not really sure what any of that had to do with her lying, and I like how she still insists that Caitlyn Clark shouldn't have the record she legitimately broke. I know she hasn't played in the WNBA, But our last hater is Jemele Hill. During an interview, Jemele Hill made multiple claims against Clark, saying that the women's basketball audience would be growing with or without Clark, also mentioning that Clark is only getting so much attention because she's white.
That the criticism is often very one-sided. Caitlyn Clark talks her shit. Caitlyn Clark is demonstrative. Caitlyn Clark, people aren't bothered by that. People aren't bothered by it because they're caught up in the narrative of, oh, here's this, wonderful, kind soul from the great state of Iowa representing middle America. So they put all these sort of, what happens in these sports race wars is everybody projects their own shit on the people coming.
All of this hate going towards Caitlyn Clark from the WNBA doesn't make any sense. WNBA players and the media have been complaining about lack of pay and a small audience forever now. So why would you hate on the biggest prospect of all time? She has the potential to completely change the WNBA. They could make millions from this, but instead, they allow their jealousy to get in the way and complain about the biggest prospect the WNBA has ever seen. It doesn't matter what her skin color is. All that matters is how good she is at basketball and how entertaining she is for the fans. That right there is enough to change the league. But that's all I have for the video. As always, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you think of WNBA players hating on Caitlyn Clark? And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
It is so sad to see that instead of helping Caitlyn and her career, some people are viciously attacking her just because she is making great moves. Take, for instance, her deal with Nike.
Caitlyn Clark, the girl just made $28 million with Nike. She's getting a signature shoe. Unfortunately, she is still left to deal with all of the critics. Now, why are there critics? Well, because Caitlyn Clark is white. There's a USA Today writer, his name is Mike Freeman, and he put up this post. No black WNBA players have a signature shoe. Jemele Hill, she's whining that Caitlyn Clark wasn't deserving of the shoe deal. It's easy to see why Caitlyn Clark was the one chosen to have the shoe deal. Clearly, there's a marketability here. Nike clearly has a knack for picking the right players to have signature shoes that are going to sell and sell well. So when they think to themselves, who should we give a signature shoe deal to? Who is going to help us generate the most revenue possible? Caitlyn Clark obviously comes to mind. I think we all can realize that Caitlyn Clark is more than deserving of a shoe deal. This has nothing to do with her skin color. And for all the people trying to make a stink about it, please just shut your mouths because you're making a bigger deal out of this.
But far from being worried, the 22-year-old is ready to support the other players in whichever way she can. Instead of being bitter or retaliating toward her bully, Clark is spreading love all around.
I'm pretty excited. I think it's cool. It's obviously rare to have 2 rookies in the All-Star game. So I think just enjoy that. Obviously the fans are super excited about it. I think it's just really good for the W. And obviously she's having an incredible year, so it's going to be really fun. She's certainly probably going to lead the game in rebounds. I expect that out of her. That's just what she does. So
she's averaging. And you're going to lead it in assists.
We'll see. I don't know about that. So it should be fun.
I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter which way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did. I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel. So like I said, I'm a big fan of hers.
By sticking with it and playing her best, Clark is helping change the game. She's bringing more eyes to women's basketball and inspiring young players. Her choice to keep improving might just reshape the future of the sport. Other players, including Angel Reese, have agreed that Clark is someone to watch out for.
Yeah, it's so cool. I know when she gets the ball, I'm running to look for the ball because I know she's going to throw it. So she's been great to play with. I mean, the future, we're going to be playing with each other a lot. Hopefully in 4 years we can be Olympians together. So.
We love to see a good clapback, right? And no one does that better than Caitlyn Clark. I mean, just a couple of days ago in her game against Louisville, she basically told Haley Van Lith, you're down 15 points. Shut up. We're going to go talk to some of her teammates to see what are some of their best Caitlyn clapbacks or best motivations. Let's find out.
The last game when she was like, you can't see me. That really got everyone fired up. When she gets an and one, she'll go like this and come to the bench and she'll be like, let's go. That's pretty fun. She gets pretty fiery in our timeouts. She might even clap back at us because she wants us to play with that same fire, and sometimes we're pretty even-keeled, some of us, but she's like, let's go, come on, dive on the floor, whatever it may be.
She always will just come to me like after a timeout, before I'm at like a tough stretch, we think, and she'll just like give me a little bit of extra reassurance. Honestly, I think the last Elite Eight game, I loved when she did the John Cena thing. I think that was so cool.
One time, I don't even remember which game it was, but she came over to the bench, and I think she had just made a shot or something. She came over to the bench and she just stood right in front of us and was just clapping at us, and we all like, there was just a picture of us surrounding her.
Honestly, she's done it a lot, but in the Louisville game when I was 0 for 4, she like grabbed me and was like, you better keep shooting, like keep your head up, like, and I think just having seeing the confidence that she has in me, it makes me want to like, I don't have time to like feel sorry for myself.
I love when she just hypes up the crowd and then everyone just goes wild. It's awesome every time.
Clark's choice is more than just about her. It's changing the whole game. But not everyone is happy. Some older players worry about new stars taking over. Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird said rookies will face tough times. They think it won't be easy for new players in the WNBA.
Look, SVP, reality is coming. There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. And, you know, it might take a little bit longer for some people.
The greatest question emerged when Clark failed to make the Olympic team. Many basketball enthusiasts think she should have been picked.
So as we put one controversy to bed, how about we just ratchet up another one?
Hello.
Because the U.S. Olympic roster was leaked today, and here are the names that are unofficially making said roster. And we got to give a big shout out to 5-time gold medalist, now 6-time Diana Taurasi, who turns 42 on Tuesday. And she'll be joined by her Mercury teammate, Brittany Griner. You take a look at this list, some newcomers as well, first-time Olympians, Alyssa Thomas, who at 32 years old becomes the oldest women's basketball player for Team USA to make her first roster. There's Sabrina Ionescu, and of course, your star of last night, Kalia Copper as well. Notably, the name that is not on that list is Caitlyn Clark. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think obviously people are going to be fired up about Caitlyn Clark not being on the team, especially Caitlyn Clark fans that love Caitlyn's game. And Caitlyn is having a phenomenal season. But what I want people to think about is, one, FIBA rules, like people that are just getting to the WNBA and seeing how physical this game is, FIBA and international basketball is 10 times more physical. I have a lot of friends who are guards that go overseas to play, and guards struggle with that initial physicality of overseas basketball. So that is an elite level of physicality. And two, most of the women that made this team competed in Belgium. They're familiar with each other. They played in camp together. And that familiarity, especially because the competition internationally has gone up, it's skyrocketed. The familiarity with the team has to be something that the committee took into consideration when putting this team together.
So I love it when you speak because I love to write notes. When you talk about physicality, I know exactly what that means. I grew up in the pipeline of USA basketball, and you really want to make your bread and butter building equity so that you are selected. But when you speak of physicality, I played in Italy, I played in China, my sister played in China, and multiple years in Russia. It is actually 10 times more physical, and that's been the topic of the physicality of the W. Wait until you see the overseas ball. And speaking of the international competition, when I look at this entire roster, to me, they want experience.
Yeah.
They truly want experience. People that have played overseas, people that have built up that equity playing in the WNBA, people of names that they have known. You can take a look right here because that's what it shows me. Now, the biggest point here, and this is what I want to bring home. Team USA has won 7 gold medals straight because of their motto, team before me. They don't care who really gets the credit as long as they leave with a gold medal. Yep. What has been the discourse this season, besides the play on the floor? It's been, who do we attribute, who do we give credit to for the growth of the women's game and the WNBA and the moment that we're in right now? I believe Team USA looks at the roster and they have experience, but they also don't want the distraction that comes. Now, me as a fan of Caitlyn Clark, I would have loved to see her on this international stage, but I understand that Team USA constructs their roster not necessarily on fandom, but completing the mission. And I think that's what we see right now.
Also, just think about this. One, it's really difficult for a player coming right out of college to make the Olympic team because you miss camps, like I said earlier. But let's think about Breanna Stewart, right? She made the Olympic team when she was a rookie. Who was the coach of that team? Gino Auriemma. I'm not saying that's why she made the team, but there's a familiarity there that's going to help her be successful. There were also 4 other Connecticut Huskies on that team to help Stewie
in her first Olympics. That's not the situation for Caitlyn. Cheryl Reeve, who's the head coach, she's not familiar with Caitlyn Clark, and the team's not familiar with Caitlyn
But look,
Clark.
when you've been the preeminent dominant force in international basketball for 7 Olympic cycles straight, you'll realize that you can play loose and fast with who you want on the team. I know this personally, seeing my sister and Candace Parker being left off the squad. If you look at the point guards, I think that recent history now, they're trying to right some wrongs and build with experience. But overall, the point guards, there's going to be question marks about Chelsea Gray, who has yet to step on the floor for the Las Vegas Aces, and question marks even on Diana at 41. So yes, they're trying to right some wrongs, but also you have to look at what those circumstances of the past now open you up for.
Diana does lead the league in three-point percentage, and I would just say this to add to the discourse that's inevitably going to happen all week long. Who would you take off?
Yeah.
Start there. Who on that list would you take off?
Caitlyn is going to have plenty more opportunities.
She's killing it right now.
We will see her. She is playing so well.
Rookie of the month.
Rookie of the month. She's putting up historical numbers. Caitlyn's having a phenomenal season, and this is going to be motivation for her moving forward.
And how satisfying for Caitlyn that she's getting everybody's best defense, and she's still finding a way to thrive and excel. Our next
As such, Coach Shirley Reeve has spoken in response to this. It appears that the coach has had it in for Clark for a long time now, and she does not try to hide this. She understands that she is playing the game she has loved from childhood, and a few backslaps are expected.
It's all around the league. But as a coach of the home team, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side. I mean,
I'll get 2
How about one?
Not even one.
The fact is, Clark is the reason why many people are now watching WNBA. Before, it had been written off as a failed sport, but now there could be a great future for this sport. Think of it as the 70s, when basketball started getting its roots. We've seen how Clark is changing the game. Now let's look at what's next. Clark's choice to stay in the WNBA is big news. It means she'll keep pushing the sport forward. Her skills are already amazing. She's set records and wowed fans. But this is just the start.
With the first pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever select Caitlyn.
What might Clark do in the future? She could break more records. She might win awards. Her play could inspire more young girls to try basketball. The WNBA is growing, partly thanks to Clark. More people are watching.
South Carolina became the 10th undefeated champion in women's college basketball history, defeating the Caitlyn Clark-led Iowa team. Joining us right now to talk March Madness, the Caitlyn Clark effect, and more, we want to bring in the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert. She is a former Deloitte CEO and now serves as a board member at McDonald's and Royalty Pharma. And Kathy, thanks for being with us this morning. I mean, the viewership around what's been happening with the NCAA, but also with the WNBA, has been pretty phenomenal. Last night, Dawn Staley, the South Carolina coach, had this to say about Caitlyn Clark, whose team she had just defeated. I want to personally thank Caitlyn Clark for lifting up our sport. She's carried a heavy load for our sport, and it's not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. When she's the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's going to lift that league as well. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Well, our draft, Becky, is a week from today, and I do agree with the sentiment. It's really the confluence of a lot of positive things coming together on the business side, on the basketball side, and it's the rise of women's sport. It's Caitlyn and others, Angel Reese, that big rivalry coming out of last year's national championship. So this generational talent, they have big followings on social media, increased media attention with ESPN and ABC, and our asset values are going up. And, we raised that capital about a year and a half ago. First women's sports property raised $75 million in capital. So really just this confluence of all of this coming together. And Caitlyn and Paige Beckers on Friday night, and then yesterday with undefeated South Carolina and Iowa. I know one thing coming out of business, Becky, you need 3 things in sports: household names, rivalries, and games of consequence. And March Madness had all of that.
Yeah, and I guess if you build it, they will come. I mean, this is a situation where viewership, even before this last year for the WNBA, I think was up 23%. Your attendance was up as well. What do you anticipate? Is this a straight shot up, or are there going to be hurdles along the way?
Right. There's, well, certainly the 15 million that watched Friday night, which was amazing. That was a huge game of consequence, the Final Four. We did have our most watched regular season in 21 years last year. Our playoffs were great. We have super teams. We have these rivalries. And so, again, we'll have a 40-game regular season starting in May. But, Caitlyn brings with her a huge fan base. So does Angel, Cameron Brink from Stanford, Rickea Jackson from Tennessee. So just all these, Camila Cardoso, who was the most outstanding player yesterday in the finals. All these players, again, coming in with big viewership and followership. So we're hoping that we'll capitalize on that in the WNBA.
Commissioner, let's talk about media rights. You just extended the Prime Video deal with Amazon. That's a 2-year extension. 2025, I believe, becomes a big year for you in terms of how much money you can actually capitalize on all of this with all of the networks. Is that when this is going to happen? And what kind of percentage change do you think you'll be able to extract, if you will?
Well, we hope to at least double our rights fees. The one thing coming in, women's sports rights fees have been undervalued for too long. So we have this enormous opportunity at a time when, as you know, Andrew, the media landscape is changing so much. So, yes, we have Prime Video, but again, we have ESPN, we have CBS. We did an over-the-air deal with Scripps Ion last year for Friday night appointment viewing. So it's going to be a hybrid no matter what. But we're really excited to get out in the marketplace.
How important is that money? You talk to some owners, they say, look, we got to get our play. Look, right now, the players during the regular season, for example, fly on commercial planes. They would love to be able to charter planes. They say they can't afford to charter planes because the amount of money just doesn't make sense. The amount of money that the players are getting paid doesn't make sense. Will that all change? Is that, when you look at 2025, is that like a seminal moment that's going to change the entire game?
I do. I think we're setting this league up not just for the next 3 to 5 years with this next media rights deal, but for the next 30. And it is, if you look at the history of men's sports, do we have our bird magic moment like the NBA had when they were on tape delay and weren't flying quite like they're flying today? So it is media rights that funds a lot of what happens in men's sports, as well as corporate partnerships. We've been doing great in the corporate partnership, doubled our corporate partnership revenue over the last 3 years. But again, this is a long-term sustainable economic model we're trying to build to fund things like charter and higher player pay, and we're well on our way.
I mean, if you look at just how much you can pay your players right now, $300,000 versus the $5 or $10 million, you've got Caitlyn Clark being offered to play in the 3-on-3 series. I mean, that's a crazy disparity. You keep them and hope that that publicity gets to the point where you can pay them some pretty big salaries too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities beyond the base pay that gets quoted around league marketing deals, team marketing deals, and obviously the NIL in college, which most of the women college basketball players have national brands, will carry over. And in fact, Caitlyn's already signed, as well as some other players, additional deals to come into the pros, because now you have a global platform, not just a local or national platform. So I feel confident, particularly for the stars, they will make a lot of money in the WNBA with their pro careers.
Clark's story is still being written. It's worth keeping an eye on her. She's part of a new wave in women's basketball. The sport's future looks bright. New stars are making the game more exciting. Clark is leading the way to a better, bigger WNBA. Clark's legacy has just begun.
Just the biggest thing is, it's really, really special, and I don't think it's going to set in for me for quite some time. I want my legacy to be the impact that I can have on young kids.